Welcome to Dig on America, where we speak truth to power. Every week, we give you the dig on how American history, policies, and media created the social and political issues we face today. DOA is independent media supported by listeners, but they'll tell you we're just fake news, deep state propaganda, funded by George Soros, the Clinton Foundation, BLM Marxists, and
Max Headroom. You young ladies don't even know who that is. That was the guy from the Pepsi commercial in the 80s. He always go. Anyway, look up Max Headroom. You'll see who it is. He was a real weird 80s icon. Mikey, you missed mine. It was Max Headroom. You know who that Max Headroom is.
I know who that is.
Good. You're the only one. Who's today's sponsor?
Nerd. You're a nerd, Dutch.
Anna, who's today's sponsor? Mikey, who's today's sponsor?
Stacey Dash.
Oh,
Stacey
no.
Dash. She's funding Democrat shows now?
Well, she just found out DMX died today. And she posted a crying video about it. And I just thought that was, well, one, he'd been dead for like over a year at least.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's been more than 1 year. And two, like,
How did you
a
miss all
monologue
the
was involved.
How did you miss all the celebrations that everyone did?
She was like, I just feel so bad that I missed it. I'm like, it wasn't like a birthday.
I saw
like,
something.
It was like,
I'm looking at my phone. I saw something about that today. I don't remember what it was, but that's actually like a real thing. She didn't know.
yeah, no, that's why she's trending today.
But I was trying to figure out, was that a joke or was that, or
No,
was it
she was like, well, people were speculating that she was just doing it for like, you know, publicity, but I don't know. I don't put it past famous people. I be like, I know y'all live in y'all own bubble.
Yeah, I can't find it. But that's crazy. Stacey Dash is a fucking train wreck, dude. Beautiful.
I mean, well,
beautiful woman, but a train wreck for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's sponsoring the show, so be nice.
Mikey,
Sarah Palin.
Another conservative.
Well, there's another one.
We are really
Isn't she running for Congress right now?
Oh,
No.
too bad she just lost.
Yes.
Yeah. She just
Oh, she
lost.
did. She lost. Wow.
Well, I don't think she lost. I saw she was in second, and that's ranked choice. Alaska's ranked choice voting.
Of course it is.
Oh.
So I'm pretty sure.
Mikey out here giving out fake news, getting us all hype on the show.
I saw her competitor. I only was like tweeting like when I had a little bit of time at work, and I saw that she came in second. I was like, haha. And I didn't look closely. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Alaska is ranked choice.
Mary Peltola defeats
Yes.
Sarah Palin in special election to become first Alaska Native elected to Congress.
Oh, so that was a
Okay.
special election then. Okay.
yeah,
So
I think she has to run again in November.
Okay, so that was though a ranked choice election. So she but I thought it was the primary. I didn't realize it was a special. So that's good. That's good.
Mikey with his fake news. I was like, I don't
Okay,
think that's
Mikey
fucking
has the
right.
real news. If you need real news, get it from Mikey.
I was incorrect. Mikey
did it,
was
Mikey.
correct. Mikey is correct as usual.
I have to give Mikey his credit.
Lindsay,
My flowers like DMX did before after.
we need a sponsor for today's show. Who's sponsoring the show?
Oh, okay. Let me think. I gotta do a good Idaho one.
Please. Idaho potato.
We're
That's
gonna
an easy one.
We're gonna do Brian Reagan, the head of the KCRCC, Kootenai County Republican Central Committee. He's a trad Catholic. He looks like a Scooby-Doo villain.
Oh.
And
What's
So
his
do I.
name? What's his name?
Put him on the screen.
Brett Reagan.
Lindsay, you have just unleashed.
Yeah,
You said
I'm
he was
right.
like
I'm
a
not
Scooby-Doo
wrong.
villain.
I'm not wrong.
I
I
need
wonder
y'all
what's
to
under
pull
the
it
mask.
The stand-up guy?
No, not Brian Reagan. Brett
What'd you say?
Reagan.
Brett. Oh, sorry.
Brent. Brent.
Oh, we have a Brent.
We do. We
And
have a Brent Henrik.
Spelled wrong.
Lauren's
That's
co-host
crazy.
on Last Call with Lauren Hubbard, Brent Henrik, who is
Here,
a moderate. by
I
the
know
way.
this is really like high tech, but
Yes, yes.
He does
Oh
look like
my.
the nabber. He did nab it.
He's a fool. He's a full ghoul.
They're like
He's-
the Phantom of the Opera.
Put that picture back up there.
What's his last name?
Hold on a second. I'm trying to. He looks. I think it looked okay. That is Mike Lindell and Dr. Phil smashed together.
It is.
You're
giving
not
Dr. Phil.
wrong. You're not
That's like
wrong.
Dr. Phil's evil brother.
I like Lindsay. I'm so glad I discovered you. So
I didn't exist before you discovered me.
I was about to say, look at
I
that.
was like, it's giving P. Diddy. Like, it's crazy.
Hey, I've now discovered Attorney Anna and Lindsay. I am like a
Wow.
a Hollywood
Discoverable.
talent finder.
You're a regular Barry Gordy.
But see, for me, it's easy to find talent because all I have to do is say, "Oh, this person's clearly better than I am at everything." So, I mean, that's like every person I walk by. Oh, what do we got here, Mikey? What do you got for us? There he is.
There's my man.
He just
I
looked
was
like he
not
ready to
wrong.
take your civil rights. He's
There's
like,
a-
civil rights, none for you.
There's a John Bolton vibe there.
Yeah, he's got the walrus
Yeah,
stash.
It's the beard. I mean, the stash, yeah.
Like
looks
that
like-
guy cannot be a Democrat. There is just like it is
No.
impossible.
Why is
No.
he not a meme? He needs to be a meme.
I'm telling you guys, so much happens in Idaho and nobody gives a fuck, but they should because it is wild here. And we got the wildest goons.
I'm just gonna say right now, everybody with a mustache like that, I assume you have some sort of lisp. Like I just imagine you have some sort of
I will
lisp
bet-
with a mustache.
I'll bet you guys had. You may not be old enough for these, but I will bet Idaho had the best fucking rave parties. Like they had to be fucking
Probably.
fantastic.
I was not old enough for that, but
Yeah, and
probably.
I still have, I think, a few fractures from the Blink
Is there a
182.
lot of is there like a lot even in the big cities, Lindsay, is there like a lot of diversity in Idaho? Because like I was gonna say, Idaho, just as a Black person, has never been at the top of my list of places to go, just because I'm like, now when I get here, I just feel like a lot of people are gonna be mad that I'm here, and I just don't want to experience that. Not to say that Idaho is a bad state, but it's just like it doesn't necessarily give friendly to Black people vibes.
I think it's like we have some unofficial still like sundown towns. So
I believe it. And Idaho is like clearly north, right?
Yeah.
Like
oh yeah, no, like
okay,
even
just
from-
pointing it out.
even from like the founding, like our history is not great. Like a lot of Confederate soldiers moved to Idaho because it wasn't a state yet, and so they wouldn't lose a lot of their rights like they would if they stayed in the United States. So like there's an inordinate amount of Confederate flags for the fact that we weren't a state during the Confederacy.
Interesting.
I think we're 97% white. It's something outrageous like that.
Do you all have indigenous like reservations and stuff too? I feel like do you guys have like tribal land, a lot of tribal land?
Yeah, we do have, there's several, a lot in actually Eastern Idaho and North Idaho.
Interesting.
And yeah, so there's a few in Central Idaho. So we do have some of that. Sort of a Hispanic population. And then Boise is actually like a sanctuary city. We have refugees come. So we have a lot of Sudanese people. We have quite a few people from Democratic Republic of Congo. So we do get a lot of those groups as well, but it's still like there's not diversity in Idaho. No.
Interesting. That's what I thought, but I didn't know. I never looked it up.
You know what I
Boy,
mean? Like,
that is I'm gonna just say right now, like I just feel like, listen, we seen you in a uniform. As a Black person, I mean, like, okay, your teacher made you put on a racist costume. No one else in the picture has on a racist costume but you. Like, that's crazy.
the answer to the question is I don't see any color. Anna is black and white. Mikey's screen's black and white. My shirt is black and white. Lindsay's in black and white. I don't see any color here whatsoever. None.
I hate when people say that. I'll be like, you knew you didn't want to sit next to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? So what was the difference between me and you? Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like,
how your clothes matching if you don't see color.
Facts. And also, I just hate that because it's like, why do you have to ignore the thing that makes me different to make yourself feel better about being able to be next to me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why do you have to like take out part of me to be like, now I'm comfortable to talk because like I don't see N as a black person. I see her as a human being. And I'll be like, no, clearly black. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's different. And that's okay.
Well, the be all that end all is if 85 to 95% of black people tell you that something is a thing, you should listen and you should believe them.
Been trying to tell y'all since the jump. We shouldn't even be over here.
Anyway, let's get into the topic. Mikey, my 8th grade social studies teacher,
Mr. Humble,
taught me things that turns out after doing my own research wasn't exactly the whole story. And this week, we will dive into the topic of what exactly is the Federalist Society. Please don't put me on the screen like that. And who are they exactly? So Wikipedia defines the Federalist Society as an American legal organization of conservatives and libertarians that advocates for a textualist and originalist interpretation of the United States Constitution. Located in the nation's capital, the Federalist Society features a student division, a lawyer division, a faculty division, and has chapters in all 204 accredited law schools and 10 non-accredited institutions. I didn't know there were non-accredited law schools, so I learned
There definitely are.
What?
The Federalist Society was founded 40 years ago in 1982. So it's its birthday. It's 40th birthday this year. That's why we're talking about it. By students from the Yale, Harvard, and University of Chicago law schools who wanted to challenge the, quote, left-wing ideology that they perceived to dominate the most elite American law schools and universities.
Damn it.
They published 2 journals, the Federalist Review and the Harvard Journal of Law and Public Policy. Anyway, according to author Amanda Hollis Brusky, the Federalist Society has, quote, evolved into essentially a gatekeeper for right-wing lawyers aspiring to government jobs or judicial appointments by Republican presidents. According to Ohio State University professor Lawrence Baum, the administrations of Reagan and Bush II, quote, aimed to nominate conservative judges and use membership in the Federalist Society as a key attribute. Lindsay, I did not mention, and I should have. If you hear something and you'd like to jump in, just yell out pause, and I will let you comment.
I hate how it was 1982. What's that shit about?
What's that?
40 years ago was 1982?
Yes,
Ouch.
I hate that
That's
too.
some bullshit.
September 17th is my 30-year high school reunion.
Damn.
I'm an old man. Hey, you know what? Fuck y'all. I look good for 48 years old, so kiss my ass. How about that? Anyway, on their website, in the FAQs, the FAQs, one question reads as follows: does the Federalist Society take positions on legal or policy issues or engage in other forms of political advocacy? The answer on the website is no. The society is about ideas. We do not lobby for legislation, take political positions, or sponsor or endorse nominees or candidates for public service. That may be somewhat true, but it's misleading. The Federalist Society itself often has a giant influence on who gets judicial nominations. In fact, in the case of Donald Trump, the society itself vetted Trump's list of potential SCOTUS nominees, and about 80% of Trump's appellate nominees were current or former members. So they may not petition for law, but they certainly influence the people who determine how it is interpreted and whether or not that law stays on the books. On its webpage, the FedSoc is kind of their name for it. FedSoc member Barbara Smith says the society is, quote, a beacon of hope for conservative and libertarian lawyers. Love how they tried to throw libertarians in there, that believe in a constitutionally based federal government and judiciary that says what the law is as opposed to what it should be. Leonard Leo, the executive VP of the organization, says that the FedSoc does several things. Quote, it teaches people via over 3,000 annual events across the nation what the Constitution means, why limitation on government power is so important, end quote. They pretty much have two slogans. The 3 Ds, not to be confused with the 4 Ds I always talk about.
The 5 Ds of dodgeball?
Yes, the 5 Ds of dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. The 3 Ds are debate.
You got to grab life by the haunches and hump it into submission.
The 5 Ds are debate, discuss, decide, debate, discuss. No, debate, discuss, decide. And the other is, quote, building the next generation and advancing the rule of law. Now, it's fair to point out that the left also has their own society, the American Constitution Society, or ACS. The ACS holds their annual meetings on Christmas Eve in the Community Mall Applebee's parking lot. Okay, I'm kidding. But who has ever heard of these guys, right? So ACS was created as a counterweight and is modeled after the Federalist Society and is often described as its progressive counterpart. Founded in 2001, following the U.S. Supreme Court decision of Bush v. Gore, which of course gave Bush the White House, one of Gore's legal team started the ACS. If you're going to have someone start it, you want the guy who lost the case. That's fucking fantastic. So also headquartered in D.C., the ACS promotes discussion and debate of progressive policy ideas, providing forums for legal scholars, lawmakers, judges, lawyers, public policy advocates, law students, and the media. One thing the ACS does that you may recognize is publishing the Harvard Law and Policy Review. The group's stated mission is to, quote, promote the vitality of the U.S. Constitution and the fundamental values it expresses: individual rights and liberties, genuine equality, access to justice, democracy, and, get ready for it, rule of law. The ACS brought in just over $6 million in revenue in 2020, with $1 million coming from George Soros's Open Society, of course. How sinister. By comparison, the Federalist Society cleared well over $20 million in 2017, which was the last year I could find data on. I couldn't find it for 2020, but I'm sure it was higher. By the way, neither of these organizations should be confused with the nonpartisan National Constitution Center. So for those who don't know, federalism is kind of the opposite of one may think. So since the word federal evokes the idea that one may be a fan of the federal government, but that is not what federalism is. It means the separation of power between the national and the state governments, with some overlap, like highway systems. Federalists should also not be confused with the now defunct political party, whose platform actually favored a strong centralized government, the indirect election of government officials, and longer term limits. The Washington Post says many individual Federalists are political and ideological warriors, though never in the name of the Federalist Society. That's a key. Rather, society events provide the proving ground where they hone their argument skills, seize a chance to shine, and come to the attention of mentors higher up in the political legal hierarchy. In that sense, the Federalist Society is a talent network or a minor leagues and placement agency as well. A society member has been on the pro-life side of every abortion case that has been before SCOTUS since 1992. Members have also been key in the Heller case, Citizens United, and NFIB versus Sebelius, which challenged the constitutionality of Obamacare.
And also, just pause right quick. The 1992 part is important. That was the year that Casey versus Planned Parenthood came out, and thus when trying to overturn the Roe restrictions, and those are the procedural requirements. So that's why that matters. But go ahead.
Well said. In 2018, the society met to share ideas aimed at finding the Mueller investigation unconstitutional, according to Politico. After the January 6th insurrection in 2021, some members argued that the members who assisted Trump in the spreading of false claims of election fraud should be distanced from the group. This included Ted Cruz and then Chairman John Eastman. That, of course, did not happen. By the way, 5 of the 6 conservatives on the current SCOTUS are members of the Federalist Society, and the membership of John Roberts is disputed, so maybe 6. The website Balls and Strikes airs a particular grievance about the 2021 annual convention, and they say this, quote, "The agenda is a laundry list of familiar right-wing grievances overlaid with the thinnest legalistic veneer imaginable. There are panels to discuss the dire threats to the constitutional order posed by critical race theory, defunding the police, and of course, cancel culture. There are appearances by the author of something called Woke Incorporated, Inside America's Social Justice Scam. There is a black tie, Antonin Scalia.
Antonin Scalia.
Is it Antonin? I thought it was Antonio. Yeah, Scalia Memorial Dinner featuring a keynote address from Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton.
Oh, great.
And a screening of a film entitled Roe versus Wade, A Legal History.
Is it made by Dinesh D'Souza?
Probably.
Yeah.
But Balls and Strikes' biggest beef is something that we discuss here a lot on Dig on America. The quote, ongoing willingness of self-proclaimed liberals to enthusiastically participate reminds me of the prayer breakfast. They claim with some receipts that the Federalist Society operates largely outside of public view, where it is an integral part of the effort to reshape America in the conservative legal movement's image. It functions as a feeder system for conservative law students, placing them in prestigious clerkships that propel them into positions of power in Congress, Wall Street, and in elite universities. In summary, most members of the Federalist Society hang their hats on one simple idea, that a judge, this is super key, that a judge's job is not to make value judgments or to speculate about the potential consequences of his or her decisions, but rather to decide cases by looking only at how the Constitution was understood at the time it was written. A mode of legal interpretation that is value neutral based on their understanding of the framers. This method of interpretation, called originalism, is the primary driver in the conservative legal movement. So a little bit shorter topic today. We happen to have an attorney on the show. Attorney Anna.
Here. Oh, go ahead, Anna.
Attorney Mikey, your thoughts.
I plead the fifth.
Attorney Anna, your thoughts on the Federalist Society. Did I miss anything? Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, you pretty much got it covered. One thing I will say about law in general is that law is very elitist in general. Like, first of all, it takes a certain amount of access to be able to access the legal profession anyway. So like, you have to go to college. Like, so now that kind of like weeds out certain folks, and not that you have to be any type of person to go to college, but like you're only dealing with people who at the very minimum have a bachelor's degree. And then you're talking about people who are going to shell out, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars to be at law school, right? So like now you're getting a little bit more exclusive with who can participate in the system. And mind you, the reason that all this is so important, in my opinion, is because the people who like law is the rules of the game of society, right? Like no matter if you know the rules or not, you're going to be judged as if you know them. You're going to be punished as if you know them. And if you're a person who has any input into making those laws, you can kind of slant the board in your favor a little bit. And when you can slant the board in your favor a little bit, the next thing that you do to keep it slanted that way is to maintain power. And the Federalist Society, in my opinion, is a way to create like a shadow network through law school, through these elite groups, because only lawyers, for the most part, are going to go on to be judges. And not every politician is a lawyer, but a lot of politicians have legal backgrounds and legal connections. And like you just mentioned, Dutch, 6 of the 9 Supreme Court justices right now were members of the Federalist Society, right? Like Antonin Scalia, who is, is celebrated in conservative circles as being a textualist, was the very first faculty advisor, the faculty advisor to the very first group. And these Federalist Society groups started at elite law schools, Yale, Harvard, basically these money-powered networks. And everything is just kind of it's like a good old boy network, except nowadays you don't necessarily have to be a good old boy, but the thing is that you likely share a lot of these same values. And I think someone had mentioned in the comment, who was it? Dino said nominating conservative judges is the most gangster chess move Republicans have made in the last 30 years. And the thing is that matters so much because these are the people who are telling us how the law is to be interpreted. So like, yes, if Congress makes the law, it's like, it's good that they said this, but if a judge says, well, this is how we're going to interpret it because this is how it's going to be, this is how it's written, you kind of have to live with that because that's the check on the legislative branch. And so this starts very early. It starts in law school, as Dutch mentioned. People get involved with these groups. You start making connections, rubbing elbows. Next thing you know, you're a prosecutor. Next thing you know, you're a judge. Next thing you know, you're a politician. Next thing you know, you're this. And a lot of like the National Prayer Breakfast, even though it's not an official organization to establish political members, it's just strikingly convenient that a lot of the people who are in high elite circles on the right and in conservative circles came through the ranks of this particular group. And Dutch also mentioned something basically like it is a conglomerate of ideologies that is tied together with whatever they want it to be. I mean, that's what it is. At the end of the day, like, law is about the best argument at the time, right? So it's like, it's up to the person who's judging you. And if we can make it so that our people are judging you, we're going to win every time. And so that's what it is to me. I can't hear you, Mikey.
Sorry, the dog was barking. They're not trying to be the best player on the field. They're just trying to be referees.
Yeah.
That's how they'll fix the games. Instead of getting their athletes in there, it's like, I'll buy the refs off. Way.
I mean, because why would you have to win the game when you can just take your ball and go home? Like, you know what I mean?
Or just say that none of their points count.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what actually happens. And it's crazy because I actually have a personal experience with the Federalist Society from law school. And this was crazy. So my first year of law school was in 2014-15. And I remember this was around the time that the body camera discussion was going on after the murder of Michael Brown in St. Louis. I was saying this was that school year for me, the 2014-2015 school year. And I went to Michigan State University College of Law. And at that time, we had a professor who I believe he's still actually there. And he actually, spoiler alert, took a sabbatical to work in the Trump administration. So that just tells you where he was with everything. So that was crazy. But at the time, body cameras weren't a norm. It was just a discussion at that time. And he brought in the Federalist Society, he was the advisor to the Federalist Society, which, again, this was like all during the rise of Trump and Trumpism and in politics. So it was all kind of like weird. And in law school, as you can probably imagine, only like 2.5% of all lawyers are Black in the first place. But they had this discussion. And in law school, we have these like lunch and learns where student groups will bring in like, you know, somebody from the community or somebody like law-based lawyers, judges, whatever, to like speak. They give you food. Everybody's broke. Like, you're supposed to just eat, listen, whatever. Like, that's how it goes. Anyway,
I will listen for food.
We all will. We listen. We like, they got pizza. Let me go.
Oh, it looks like you guys ordered Panera. Yeah, I can sit.
Oh no, they would never order Panera. That was too classy. But
is that an Asiago bagel? Yeah, I'll listen.
But at this no, it affects on cold pizza. But at this time, there was just this discussion about body cameras, and so the Black students, there was a lot of racial tension at the university or at the law college at the time, and in the university just in general. You know, like everybody was a lot of Black people were just being murdered like routinely in the news. It was just a very difficult and culturally sensitive time. Anyway, he brings in someone who, as a guest speaker, the Federalist Society, I'm going to say him talking about the professor, but the Federalist Society brings in someone who was a former regional director of the FBI. So he brings this guy in, and the guy, now mind you, all the Black people went because it was supposed to be a discussion about body cameras, and the Michael Brown situation was so potent at that time that as Black students, we wanted to be a part of that discussion. So a lot of us came, and we already kind of knew it was going to be some mess because we were like, the Federalist Society is putting it on. We know we don't really like y'all, but we need to have these, we're Black lawyers, we need to be in the room when these conversations are being had, because like, what's going to end up happening is if we don't come, it's just going to be a group of white people making decisions that impact us, and then we didn't have anything to say about it. So anyway, we go, we already kind of on tip, but they got pizza. So it's like, how bad could it really be? You know what I mean? Anyway, the guy comes in, and he basically, the FBI, former regional FBI director, basically led with like why body cameras were such a bad idea, like why cops wouldn't be able to do their jobs on camera, why prosecutors would use evidence against like just basically like, we can't do our jobs on camera because we're not going to be able to do good police work if people are, God forbid, holding us accountable. Like that was the long and short of it, and people were arguing with him about it. So that was the first part that was like, kind of had everybody like, okay, that's really crazy. And so we were already kind of pissed. Like it was arguing going on, like, okay, but law students argue, like, you know, that's what we do. That's kind of what you're there for, to practice that. But then the conversation moves on into our professor at our school showing us a document of violent crimes in America and telling us that Black people were inherently more dangerous than white people, and that he was going to prove it with his statistics.
Hey, facts don't care about your feelings, Anna.
It was just crazy because we were just like, what do you, first of all, you're a professor, like, you know what I mean? Like, we pay to go here. We're paying for you to like teach us, and this is the type of shit that you're saying. You know what I mean? Like, that's what, not only that, it's just not true. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not even true. And then we had these types of discussions, and then a lot of the like, and then it turned into a constitutional thing where it was just like, oh, like you guys want judicial activism, and you guys just can't follow the Constitution, and this is not what the founding fathers wanted, and blah, 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 which is crazy because it's just like, if we're really talking about originalism and textualism, did you still want me to be a slave? Because it's just like, how much of that did you want to follow? You know what I mean? Like, the Constitution says a lot of things. Like, should women have rights? Should Black people have rights? Should you even have rights? Because it was really only referring to white men who had property. Like, you don't own anything.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Except a cheap suit. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like, how far do you want to go with that? But we have professors, you know, Federalist Society members tell us this. Later on, when I got into practice, my old boss at a firm I used to work at had a debate. He was a liberal individual, and he had a debate against someone who also worked in the Trump administration and was the author of a lot of books that Trump relied on to support a lot of the things that he was perpetuating, which was like crazy. But anyway, they had this debate, and it was just like, the concept of federalism, to kind of bring it back to Dutch. And before I get into what the debate was, let me just kind of explain federalism a little bit differently. So you're a person, like, as an American, you're a person of the citizen, like you're a citizen of the state, and you're also a citizen of the country, because we have a federal government and we have a state government. And they do two different things. Even though the federal government in the hierarchy is higher than the state government, unless Congress has to specifically say the federal government is going to have this power, and unless Congress specifically says the federal government is going to have this power, any other power that the Congress does not specifically enumerate automatically goes to the states. So, for example, traffic laws. There are no federal traffic laws, so that means every state gets to decide their own traffic laws. The abortion issue, that's what just came up. There is no abortion federal minimum, so every state gets to decide what they want to do. So that's the concept of all of this. And the Federalists are basically saying, like, the federal level, the national government should really be significantly limited because people in their own more local communities and areas should have more of a decision. But the reality is that as a nation, states kind of need to do things in tandem and together for us to work as a nation, where there are some issues that can be handled as a group and then some issues that can be handled on a more local level. Anyway, getting back to the story, debate was basically federal government shouldn't do anything. The market should just play out how it wants. The Constitution tells everything we need to know. And guess who's going to interpret the Constitution? Y'all. You know what I mean? Like, because if I say this is what it says, if I say the Second Amendment says every citizen has the right to bear arms under like well-regulated militia, if I say, oh, well, you need the militia, and you say, oh, no, we don't, and you the one with the judge, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's basically a network. Long story short, it's to me, in my opinion, it's an elitist network that starts in law school, develops its talent. They do not promote because it's not a job, but they develop folks within the ranks. And now that you have a law degree and you have a pedigree, they will support you just like any other group. So Flow State, we actually do work as a nation. We have a military. That's like the main thing we do. That's like a huge thing. And we need a national military.
Post office.
I want to ask, so like Lindsay, obviously this is your first time here, right? So like,
yeah.
The just coming upon this conversation, you didn't know we were going to be talking about this tonight. Is this helpful in any way? Like, are you picking, is this, I mean, are you, what are your thoughts
resonating with you
on this whole topic?
So sorry, things come back to Idaho for me because that's kind of
well, that's where you're from.
That's kind of what I do now. So we have somebody running for attorney general named Raul Labrador, and he has been in Congress. He is a lawyer, and he actually was on our health board and was really instrumental in getting rid of mask mandates, fighting vaccine mandates for private businesses. Yeah, no, he's really a gem. Anyway, so as you were talking about this, in his campaign, he's been talking about a big issue in Idaho is we keep being in the news because our legislators try to pass the most bullshit laws you can imagine. And currently our attorney general advises against it. He will fight like lawsuits, be like, no, legislators, you can't do that. Like, he really is trying to uphold the rule of law. I don't always agree with him. He's a Republican, but in a very general sense, he has tried to be fair about application of the law and defending the state's, defending the rule of law in the state of Idaho. Anyway, Raul is running, and he is campaigning on being an advocate for conservatives, on fighting these culture war values. He's been on a Christian nationalist podcast, openly advocating for this, talking about how he was going to be an advocate for conservatives, how his role was to make sure that Idaho is, that we're using our taxpayer money to fund these lawsuits to stop transgender kids from getting hormone treatment, and to, stop all abortions, even if pregnant people will die. And so as you were talking, I was like, that's odd. That seems kind of interesting. He's saying some Federalist things. And so I looked up Raul Labrador, Federalist Society. And when Scalia died, he wrote a whole op-ed saying that when he was at University of Washington Law School, at the time I was the president of the Federalist Society. And I was like,
always are.
That fucking tracks.
They always are.
That fucking tracks. So no, I think this is really important. It's the groups like this that people don't necessarily know about, that they don't know that these people, it just seems like, oh, wow, how are all of these conservative people just like popping up suddenly with all of this support, all of these connections, and getting into these positions of power? How did they do that? And then when you find out there's these societies, there's these groups who gave them this pedigree and trained them and prepared them to fill these positions, and that these are things that were happening 15 years ago, 20 years ago. preparatory to putting them in these positions of judges, attorney generals, all of these positions, that makes sense that they've been playing this really long game to get to this point.
6 of the 9 sitting Supreme Court justices were in a group. Like, you know what I mean? Like for a 9 folks, like that's a really, really high number, given the only thing that y'all are really supposed to have in common, really, aside, like, let's just say from general ideology, is like the fact that y'all have this job together. Like, what are the chances?
Were the other 3 in the ACS?
I don't think so.
Is that like a popular thing? Were you in the ACS?
No. I if it was a big group, I don't think that I really knew about it like that. But everybody in law school, you know, the Federalist Society, like everybody, it's such a, like, it, first of all, it's attracting only really a certain kind of individual. Like people know that they're not gonna, like, you read some of this, you know, I mean, it's not that they don't pass out literature to everybody, don't get me wrong, but it's like you look at the stuff in the literature and I'm like, okay, y'all want to talk about why judges are doing so much judicial activism and not staying within the text of the law. Like, I already know what you mean by that. To me, as a lawyer, a law student at the time, like, this is a dog whistle to tell me you only wanted to follow the laws you want to follow, and you don't want to utilize the mechanism that makes the Constitution work, which is Congress's ability to amend it. Like, that was the whole point of the Constitution, which is they recognized that they were going to die. They recognized that things were going to change, and they gave the mechanism of amending it with voting in Congress to be able to remedy those issues at whatever point, knowing that the Constitution could not itself sustain for years. I don't know why you would then turn around and say a group of people who are unfamiliar with any type of modern technology, unfamiliar, like it was like, you know, hundreds of years ago. I don't know why you would think that these people should control the world from their grave. Like, I just, it doesn't make sense unless you're doing intellectual gymnastics so that you are the only person who can define what they meant as if you were there. Because that's really what, in my opinion, that's what they do. They want to say,
but I have a lot
know
of
what they meant.
But they must have thought like I do, because they were patriots and so am I.
Yeah.
Right. But the difference is that as a lawyer, they know that people in society are going to respect you. Like that's why we have all these ethical rules, is because once somebody is like, oh, I'm a lawyer, like now you're supposed to have an understanding of the law that common folk do not have. You know what I mean? And that's what makes you important, but you can play on that. So when you're talking to a group of people who, how many people just know what textualism is, right? Like how many people know what federalism is? But if I say we should have a small government and people be like, yeah, we should have a small government, you'd be like, yeah, so you're on my side. And now you're willing to go with things that I say because you are giving me that power because I'm the person who's educated and you're not. So you're believing me. And unfortunately, Black people in power do, you take advantage of people's ignorance, and that's how you run, and you scare them and you manipulate them and you do all these things so that you can maintain that power, and they let you.
Fools.
Well, there you go. Okay. So I don't think I have anything else to add on that. Anna, as I knew, was going to take this by the horns and ram it through everyone's skull. She's pretty awesome, isn't she, Lindsay?
Yeah.
Thank God.
All right. So we're going to get out of here.
I didn't say that.
We're going to get out of here. But if you are on Twitch, we're going to raid the show that raided us the other night. So stay with us, please, for a few more minutes. But before we go, Lindsay, give her the center stage. Just tell the people where they can find you real quick, and then we'll play one last game and we'll get the hell out of here.
All right. So I'm on TikTok as SocialistlyAwkward. I am on Twitter as SocialistlyAwkward or at MCK05002. Instagram, if you guys Instagram, same thing, SocialistlyAwkward. Please come follow, check out my content.
Was that not available on Twitter?
Is what not available on Twitter?
Socialistly Awkward. You couldn't find it on Twitter. Somebody already had it.
So I didn't think this was gonna be a thing. So I just used my old Twitter. I was just like, I'll just like throw my name on there and whatever. I was just like playing around, making TikToks for fun, and then it kind of took off. And now here I am, and I'm like, well, shit, I can't like transport everyone over to a different account. So
I think you can change your Twitter handle though.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah, you
oh my
can.
God.
Yeah.
Let me show me how to do that.
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah,
I've been,
well, I'll show you how to. I'll send you a couple picture messages and show you how to do
I've
it.
been over here like, yeah, I
You,
was
you
like,
can
well,
definitely,
that was
you can
terrible
definitely change it.
fucking idea.
You can check unless someone's already cloned you to try to steal your. thunder.
One of your listeners is probably doing it right now to try to sell
I
it to
will
me 'cause
kick
that's
their
all I know.
ass if they do it.
Hey,
Okay.
my fees aren't that much. All right.
Yeah.
You know, it's not my
I'm a
fault I
nurse and I
got here
don't know
first.
shit. Like,
So as a nurse, you know that COVID's a hoax, right?
yeah, 100%. We were
Yeah.
just actually, we just put it on the little swab. Like we had a little box of COVID and we like dipped the swab in it and then shoved it up people's noses.
Do you ever laugh when they say, "Oh, doctors and nurses are part of a global cabal"? When 2 days ago they were saying, "I don't want Obamacare because I like my doctor and my nurse."
Yes. Oh, it's the whiplash is my favorite part, honestly. Like we were heroes and then we're traitors and we're saving lives and we're murdering people. Like I just can't keep it. I don't know if I'm a villain or a hero when I go to work.
Have y'all seen the Second Amendment whiplash that happened today when the Antifa people came out trying to protect the drag show with like they were armed? I think they had like all these guns, and then like the like crazy like Trump people came up to try to like protest them, but they wasn't expecting the Antifa to be there with like guns, and then they were like, "Well, why do you guys have them?" And they're like, "Second Amendment," and they're like, "That's our line." Like, can't
Well,
take
you
that.
know, that's a great way to put it, as conservative whiplash. I mean, teachers are un-American, people indoctrinating us with that men are women and women are men and CRT, but arm the teachers.
Exactly.
Bulletproof backpacks.
Yeah, arm the teachers, though. I thought they were un-American. Anyway, Lindsay, we're going to play another game with you. This game is
All right.
Prank. Do you watch Marvel movies?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
So you'll know
That
what a
makes it
snap
easier.
is, right? So
Mhm.
we're going to play a game called Prank One, Marry One, Snap One.
Okay.
And the snap is Thanos, right? You can snap them
Okay.
out of existence. A prank, obviously, you can use that as proxy for the F word, or you can use it as a prank call, whichever you choose.
Okay.
All right. Now, you need to say a word. You need to choose good or bad. Go.
No descriptors.
No descriptors.
Bad.
Just pick bad. Okay.
Bad.
Oh,
This is going to be
You
fun.
jacked up, girl.
Oh,
All right.
you have chosen
Nope.
poorly, small
Chose
one.
wrong.
All right.
Chose wrong.
Mikey, why don't you go first?
Carrot top.
Ooh.
Carrot Top.
Ooh. Snap.
No,
Anna?
no, you gotta.
Oh
wait
no,
till
you
get all
didn't. You
three
didn't.
first.
You didn't hear everybody though. You gotta wait
Yeah.
till everybody.
Oh my
you
God!
gotta-
Wait.
Yeah,
Oh
you're
no!
gonna-
I chose poorly. Oh shit.
You might
Okay,
you
go
might
ahead.
end up marrying Carrot Top.
Yeah. Oh shit. Oh.
This
All
is
right.
only gonna get worse for you.
Anna. you got
Oh
one?
no.
I'm actually gonna go give mine if you don't know one yet.
You can go.
Ben Shapiro.
Oh,
Oh,
cutting deep.
That's
Hot.
terrible.
Carrot Top is looking awful sexy right now.
I was gonna say that's looking like marriage material
Hey,
right
and
there.
just so you know, Ben Shapiro, if you choose him, he finds getting women wet disgusting. So
He doesn't think that exists.
yeah,
so.
be ready for a very dry rest of your life. All right.
Oh.
Yikes.
Arabian Nights.
I'm gonna say-
Like Arabian Day.
And then the camera goes over the sand dunes.
I
This is
made
like-
such a bad choice.
You should have went good. I had a good one for you too.
I know. Well, I was thinking like sexy villain or something. I don't know. This was shit.
No, it's way worse.
Girl, this is terrible.
Anna, do you need
I'm gonna say. I forgot his name. Brett the Scooby Doo villain
Who?
from
Oh, Brett.
Yo Town.
Oh, shit. Oh. Okay.
Like the Scooby Doo villain has to be in the mix.
Yes. The Mike
Oh,
Lindell
no. Okay,
Dr.
so what
Phil.
are my options there?
Carrot
The
top.
Idaho
Mary?
guy. You have the Idaho guy, Carrot Top, and Ben Shapiro. You have to prank one,
Dang girl.
marry one, snap one. You may not cheat.
Gotta pick 'em.
Oh.
Everybody gets a slot. Why
See,
did
bad
you
is
say
so much more-
bad?
Bad is so much more fun.
That one is so bad. Okay, I gotta marry Carrot Top because Fuck.
It was the only option.
And
It was
here's
the
the
only
thing.
real
only
option.
When you said Carrot Top, she immediately, like without as fast
I already knew.
as fast as Maniac Pixie Weirdo said white tangerines. She was
Yeah.
like, snap. Now, but see, now
Yeah.
it's come full circle and he's looking
It's come
off.
full circle. Now I'm like, I'm ready. Right now, we can get married tonight.
So now you got
Um,
now you got Ben.
He has no
And,
such wet rule, by the way, that I know of, Carrot Top.
He's been working out. He's in shape now.
oh, okay. I'm gonna. Oh fuck. I'm going to snap.
One night with Ben Shapiro.
Oh,
Wow.
so bad. Okay, I'm gonna snap Ben Shapiro for the good of the world.
Oh no, not the Walrus Man.
The Walrus Man is ecstatic right now. He's jumping, like his mustache fell off. He's like,
And I'm
"Lindsay's
just
prank
gonna
me?"
hope he has a heart attack. That's what I'm gonna hope. Brent has a heart
I'm
attack.
He's nicknamed
Liberals-
Ron Colton.
Socialist
Yeah, oh.
Satanist woman kills Idaho congressman.
So we just changed the entire name of the game to avoid that, and there's Dutch to step right in the damn Dutch. We literally changed the name of the
I
game.
think that she said that herself. She hopes that he dies.
I really hope he doesn't
I
have
don't
a
think-
heart attack.
I don't think she's gonna kill him or kill him with like a Jerky Boys call. like, hey, look out your window.
Is your refrigerator running?
I know.
then go catch it.
Get him.
I know. You know what? Ben Shapiro might have fainted. Like, just take a Playboy magazine, just open it by the window. He just like passes out.
I was there. Maybe
That's
he's
not
just
what I
talking
think it
so
is.
fast and have an aneurysm.
Well, he puts
So-
a sheet over his wife, from what I hear. So
If
Oh,
you showed him a Playboy or like a close up of a box, he probably wouldn't know what it was. So I don't even know if that would work on him. He's so unaccustomed to seeing the beauty of the naked woman body. He would know what he was looking at.
Y'all think that, or y'all think he just be saying it? Because sometimes I know y'all probably don't watch the Boondocks.
no, he really believes
but-
it.
No, game recognized game, granddad. And let me
Okay.
tell you, my man ain't
No,
never
I was gonna
touched
say,
it.
you remember the episode where they did Ann Coulter, where Ann Coulter was like, okay,
Yeah.
so let me just give y'all a little bit of context. So Boondocks, like, it's a cartoon. It's like I wouldn't consider it's an animated cartoon, right? Okay, so they have a TV show and it's like a lot of social commentary. It's like two black kids. Anyway, so there's an episode where like something racist happens to the black kids and like it's satire. So like Al Sharpton gets involved. He comes to town and like basically tries to make this whole thing like a media circus and like tells the kids like, oh, like I'm gonna get you paid, blah, 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 blah. And then it turns into like Al Sharpton arguing 24/7 in the media with like Ann Coulter about this. And she's like taking these like very hardline, like conservative positions. But then at the end of the episode, turns out Ann Coulter was just really doing all of this for money. She didn't even believe any of that stuff anyways. And
They
like
were friends.
So it's Candace
they were
Owens.
actually, she was friends with Al Sharpton and they were
Yeah.
both doing this to like make money. Sometimes I be thinking like, it's people online. I'm like, I know you don't believe this Ben Shapiro. I'm sure he's having sex with someone. You know what I mean? Like, maybe not a lot, but I know
And,
there's someone.
And
There's someone.
It's only for procreation, and he doesn't enjoy it.
Anna, he's like that for
Y'all-
real.
You think so?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Sometimes I think sometimes I agree with Anna. I think they play it up because then there's public. It's like that. No
Yeah.
publicity is bad publicity. Like
That's
how much
true.
were we talking about Ben Shapiro
Yeah.
when WAP came out? Like why would we talk about him when
He was-
WAP came out? Except for the fact that he's like, I don't know that people get wet.
Maybe
We like,
maybe
of course
his-
you don't.
Maybe
Yeah.
his wife is. Maybe his
Shocker,
wife,
Ben. No, nobody thought you did.
maybe his
Gasp.
wife is just very.
Don't no. We ain't gonna go there. We're not that show, Dutch. Jesus Christ. Talking about the
Aren't
man's
Not
wife.
that show.
Aren't we?
It's
Aren't
not
we?
her fault.
It's not.
Oh, it's her fault. She's there on purpose.
Well, when you got a ventriloquist
no,
dummy
that's
trying to
her
go to town on you, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not really her fault. Like,
See, well, is it like we don't know
She
what
chose
either
this
one of
way.
them doing? All I know is The only person who let their wife get talked about in public is Ted Cruz. So
That's for damn sure.
she's the one we need to be talking about.
All right.
Just don't say nothing about Jada. Y'all good.
Don't say nothing about Jay. You're gonna
Don't get slapped.
You're gonna
Don't
get
get slapped.
Yeah.
What if Ted Cruz had done a Will Smith to Donald Trump? That would have been.
Oh, he'd be
He would
president.
never. He would never. First of all,
He'd
he
be
would never.
president. He'd
He
be
would
president
never.
right now.
He would
He
be.
would
walked-
never.
If he walked across that stage and socked him,
He would
he'd
have
be
been president.
I
He would
agree.
have been president.
I agree.
Mind you can't even stick up your wife and accidentally become president.
Nope. They
Because
love
let me
that.
tell you something. If that was me, oh baby, you better put your boxing gloves on right after you come off that
And-
stage. 'cause
and
you
it's
finna
in
get
there-
checked.
And it's in there like,
Let somebody would have called me ugly on TV.
got these earrings.
Oh, and
got
you
the
didn't
Vaseline
correct
in the
them?
purse.
Oh, that's crazy. And y'all know she the one making the money in the first place. I'm like, Ted, next campaign is yours. Figure that out. No one's
Right.
donating money, Ted.
Raphael.
Yeah. He's
Be
a fucking
paying
piece
for
of
it.
shit.
Yeah.
Well, all right, everybody. Lindsay, it's been a pleasure. We're forcing you to come back against your will.
Come back.
I want to say you can't force the willing.
It's in the Constitution.
Well, Ben Shapiro is going to try, but
no, I snapped him away. He's gone
that's
now.
right. Wait, I'm
even
Tony
here.
Stark. I am Iron
Yeah.
Man. And Ben's back.